Junkyard. So, what do you guys want to talk about?
Welcome to the Beyond the Junkyard podcast. We are back. It's been 14 long days since we've last had an episode here on the Junkyard Media Group YouTube page. And I can fully explain why, and I will explain in just a minute. But with me, as always, it's the man, the myth, the legend, Kdawg. How is it going, my friend?
Junkyard James. It has been a minute. The last time that we even had a voice conversation was literally 2 weeks ago today, when we were singing our lungs out at the good old Creed show. And yeah, and then since then, just things have not fell into our lap here to get a show going. But we're back. We're in living color. It's good to be here. How in the hell are you doing, sir?
It's been a week, my guy. It's been a week with work and with just everything. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't put together an itinerary for this week. And it's all on me. You can blame me. It just kind of last thing on the hierarchy of thought process. And yeah, last week we were going to do a show last week, and well, I could not have expected a hurricane to come through motherfucking Piedmont, North Carolina, and a tree fell down in my neighborhood, and I was out of power for about 24 hours. So that's why we could not record last week.
A little upset with Debbie, though, man. She didn't take out Puerto Rico like we had thought. Oh, well.
Next time when there's a storm named Debbie, it'll be aimed right at the Puerto Ricans. Nothing wrong with Puerto Rico. It's just anyway, it's a long story.
Nothing wrong with Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans.
There's an American and Puerto Rico.
That's very true.
Anyways, that's another story for a different day. Anyways, so as Cody Rhodes likes to say, what do you want to talk about? And I want to talk about that mid-ass AEW Dynamite last night. It was not that good, in my opinion.
I thought it was actually a good show. I beg to differ.
Really? Man, I don't know what it was. Like, they hyped it up to be a really good show. I was not a fan of the ending of the tag, I kind of expected the ending of the tag team match. I don't like where it's going leading into Collision, because just give us what you are going to give us. I don't like this. Well, this team's going to have to fight this team. We know there's going to be a triple threat at All In. Just give it to us. We're not stupid. Just give it to us. We know it's going to happen, and we'll have the Acclaimed and the Young Bucks and FTR fight at Wembley Stadium, which, by the way, we're 10 days away from All In, and I still don't know where the fuck I'm going to watch it. So that's going to be fun to figure out. Anyway,
I know where I'm going to watch it, but depends on a specific situation. I'm going to purchase it. I will watch it on pay-per-view. Whether or not I'll be watching it from the comfort of my home, well, the house I live in, or, I'm going to be staying at the room 7E in Stanley County Atrium Health Hospital. We'll find out. We may have it in a hotel or in a hospital room. We'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully we're back home by then and be able to watch it. But yeah, either way, crazy that's already 10 days away, or only 10 days away.
The month of August is just blowing by. But so I have this question, and I mentioned it briefly just a minute ago. A year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, let's just say, Tony Khan could do no wrong with the tag team division. But he fucked the whole living shit out of the women's division. And it almost feels like just a year later or 2 years later, everything is flipped. And all Tony Khan cares about is the women's division. The women's division is the best it's ever been. But the tag team division, man, it's just like weak. And I wasn't a fan of any of that tag team situation that was going on. It's just, I don't know. I just kind of want to know your thoughts on the tag team division in AEW.
Before we do get to that, we do need to bring it up. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but since we are a Fanatic branded WWE show that has the link you can get to purchase your WWE gear at Fanatics. Thoughts and prayers go out to the Wild Samoans and the family of Afa. They passed away this afternoon. So thoughts and prayers go out to the entire family and friends of Afa and the family that was affected by his timely passing. Seems like here recently we've had a few of the Samoan wrestling dynasty that's kind of had some unfortunate news that's happened over the last little bit. So regardless, thoughts and prayers to that. Hopefully the family there can just take its time to mourn and heal there and still be as strong as ever. Back to what you were mentioning about the tag team division, it was just kind of an apropos thing to mention because obviously the Wild Samoans are one of the greatest tag teams in wrestling history, so wanted to tie that back into it. I still think the tag team division is better than what WWE has right now, to be honest with you. I still don't understand what kind of tag division they're going on with right now. But don't worry, you guys are getting ready to get the Lucha Brothers, so maybe that'll help a little bit.
And Motor City Guns.
And the Motor City Machine Guns, yes. Yeah, I totally agree that if 2 years ago between the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks and that steel cage match at All Out, I was so looking forward to that match. The Lucha Bros went over in one of the best steel cage matches, and it was a really good moment to solidify more that AEW was the home of tag team wrestling. And yeah, over the last couple of years, it really hasn't been as strong as it had been. But you know what? I think just with every show, you're not going to have the most perfect top to bottom lines, booking decisions, and overall atmospheric landscape within your divisions. So for Tony and we've been, for 4 years, we were mentioning, man, when is the women's division going to be elevated? When are they going to showcase how good they can be? Now we're finally getting it. I guess we had to trade the tag team of that happening. So maybe you can blame that a little bit. I don't love how this tag team division has been booked because the Bucks won the titles at what? A few weeks after Revolution or a Dynasty, one of the two, and haven't even defended it except for one time, and that was last night. And I know that the heels are going to do that kind of stuff, but
right.
I don't love how we're kind of infiltrating the FTR Acclaim stuff. I think the Acclaim stuff just kind of was like, hey, listen, they're a fan favorite. Let's just put them on TV. I feel like there's still a lot of tag teams that they can elevate, that they can grow and make better. Seems like some of those are getting opportunities in either ROH or on Rampage, something like that. But I just think we need to elevate the tag team division with the younger guys, bring them up a little bit more, Top Flight, Private Party, things of that nature. Just elevate that division a little bit more. Maybe that'll come in the next few months, maybe even going to the 25. Maybe that'll be a focal point again. Is that?
Yeah. First thing, I do want to make a correction because Dave Meltzer lied again. Afa,
Well, thank you.
Afa,
He did not pass away. Okay.
Afa has not passed away. Dave Meltzer was premature in his original posting.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. You're spot on. Everybody was so up in arms, and I understand. Losing the Lucha Bros is a big deal. Like, they're one of the best tag teams in the entire world. And WWE, my biggest fear, again, is the same fear that I have with Dragon Lee, with Lexis King, with Jade Cargill, with Stephanie Vacher. WWE doesn't seem to book like incoming talent that they didn't prep through the Performance Center really well. Like, I mean, Dragon Lee, I don't think has had a match in several months. Stephanie Vacher's been signed for over a month now. Hasn't been on TV. Has been on like one show in Mexico, I believe, and they haven't used her, and they haven't promoted her. They haven't done anything for her. Like, at least with Jade Cargill, they had like this big red carpet thrown out for her. They really haven't done that with Stephanie Vacher. That's my biggest fear with the Lucha Bros, is just booking. They're going to do really well in WWE. Both of them can speak English really well, and I think WWE will not do what AEW did and put Alex Abrahantes as their mouthpiece, because they can speak for themselves. They're really good at cutting promos. But you look at AEW's tag team division, there's some really underrated tag teams. Party, I think, is at that point. Like, they can run that division. They're pretty, like, they're not great. Like, they're not the Lucha Bros. I'm not going to say that. But Private Party can be a top babyface tag team in AEW. I don't like their heel work as much as their babyface work, but they can be a really good babyface tag team. Teams like the Righteous, you could even do like Blackpool Combat Club, or House of Black. There's teams like the Outlanders or the Highlanders or whatever they're called. Like
the Outrunners.
The Outrunners. They're really over with the fans. So they have these tag teams. They're not showing them, and it's hard to build a tag team division when your tag team division on TV is the Young Bucks and FTR every single pay-per-view. And so, or the Young Bucks don't show up to do anything with their title. I kind of have the same gripe about Okada. And I was a little confused about Okada. Is him and Claudio at the Dynamite in Wales, their match, or are they fighting at Forbidden Door or All In?
From the looks of it, they're fighting for next week in Cardiff.
So what's the Continental title going to... Is it just not going to be defended for the fourth pay-per-view in a row?
More than likely. From what I've seen on some reports, Meltzer and some others believe that title will be defended next week because the thought process is to have Okada in the gauntlet match. So I guess they don't want him to be wrestling twice on the show. They're going to use him in a gauntlet match to kind of beef up. From what I've read, they're going to try to beef up that gauntlet match to throw as many big names into there to make it feel more important because it is for a future title shot. So I guess that's the direction they're going in. But, I mean, it's still a good match to have on that card. Obviously,
right.
They're going to try to put as much good stuff on the first European Dynamite ever. But I think that'll be a very good match in general next week for the Continental title. But, yeah, it's still weird, though, how the booking of that has gone.
So my second question with that, with it being in Cardiff, are they taping it ahead of time, or is it going to be like live?
No, I think that they're going to be doing the same thing that most, WWE does with Raw and SmackDown when they're in Europe. They're going to be live. I believe they're going to be live their local time, so maybe 8 o'clock. I don't know if it'll be shown on TV live. I would imagine. I don't know. But they're going to tape it at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever, and then we're 6 hours behind, so we'll just show on a date delay in America.
Gotcha. Okay. So stay off of social media that day is what you're saying.
Yes. They'll be taping. I believe they'll be doing Dynamite. I believe they're doing Rampage. I don't think they're doing. Maybe they are doing Collision too. I know they're doing Dynamite. I want to say maybe they're going to be taping all 3 shows that night. I could be wrong. Let me just double check real quick on their website. This Saturday is the last one in Arlington, and then yes, they're doing just Dynamite and Collision next week. So that's as far as it says. They're not taping.
Okay. Rampage.
Yeah, they're not taping Rampage next week.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting. I think the Wales crowd will be good. I thought the Norfolk crowd was pretty good last night. And here's my problem. So I went to Collision, not yesterday, but the week before, and Tony Khan, dude, like, you look at what Collision was going on, and they're at the arena in Arlington, the esports arena. You need to find stadiums of that size. That's AEW for you. Have it in a small, intimate setting. And I know Tony Khan wants to have big shows that kind of resemble the WWE style of Raw and SmackDown. But, man, I got a bunch of fucking shit last week on social media because some dude tried to say that the arena was 82% empty, and I guess technically by the number of seats in that arena, he's correct, but they basically sold every seat that they were offering. And if you would just have smaller arenas, we wouldn't have this issue, because that's always going to be the outside perspective is you can't even sell out half an arena, even though technically you sold out 94% of the tickets that you offer. You only offered 20% of the arena. So they're still going to shit talk them. There's a lot of things that AEW gets a lot of shit for that Tony Khan could fix with advertising or picking smaller arenas or something. Like even with this briefing, and we'll talk about it with All In for next year, they're already shit talking him about, oh, well, they're going to Texas next year because this year's audience was half of last year's audience, so they obviously know the market's not there anymore. So there's a lot of things he could fix just by changing the perception that people see the arena, see the event, because the show was good. I will say, though, and I was going to say this last week, but I lost power. Floor seats are not worth a lot of the hype. Like, I would have preferred, like, 100 level, honestly, over a floor seat, because half the time I couldn't see shit where I was sitting. So it's a good option if you're, like, front row or on the barricade, on the entrance side, and you can, like, see the wrestlers come down the ramp. But where I was, 6 rows deep, like, I got them for tickets for $50, but most of the time those seats aren't $50 tickets. It's really not worth the wrestling. So worth the price of admission for the view that you get. Half the time I had to like lean out in the middle of the aisle to see something because some kid or some passionate female was standing on a chair and screaming at Mercedes Moné because apparently, like, I don't know. Anyways, floor seats aren't worth it, y'all. Just get one of the seats like hard cam side so that people stop fucking talking about there's not hard cam seats.
Yeah, that's a good point. If AEW would just, advertise better, I think that they would just generate 10% an increase on their ticket sales alone by just doing more local advertisements for different story. I love what they did with Esports Arena for the Collision and doing a couple of ROH tapings there and doing Death Before Dishonor. I think that's a great idea to do. Is to use kind of a resident, a place for residency for a month or so, and they did so very well with tickets. I believe that they profited off of that. I think they spent $232,000 for the 6-7 weeks as they were there, and they were in the black for that, meaning that they had a profit. So that's a good thing. I don't understand why they don't do Collision at something like that and just tour around the country doing a couple of different residencies for a couple of weeks at doing that,
right.
Or just have a Collision solely at in Jacksonville. I mean, I understand that you do have concerts that you do outside of there, and that's fine. I understand that. Why don't you just set back up at Universal Studios? Why don't you? I believe Jacksonville has an esports arena. I don't know how big it is, but I mean, you could have done it there. You could have done it at the arena in Jacksonville, the 5-Star Memorial Arena there. I mean, you have places there that you could do. Make it like a WCW Saturday night type of thing.
Where was the first, Fighter Fest held in 2019?
That was at the Ocean Center in Daytona. So that was, yeah.
I mean, they could set up residency there for a couple months, tape a whole bunch of shit, or go back to what they were doing with Universal. They had a open spot there, and they were just doing a whole bunch of tapings at Universal for quite some time. I guess during COVID, I think.
As we kind of got out of COVID, they did a bunch of Dark and Elevation and ROH tapings there. And yeah, that would have been great. I mean, TNA had the residency there for the longest time and had that was fine. You could sell tickets if you wanted to for that, even though usually people that had theme park just go to the show for free. But yeah, set up a residency between the Ocean Center in Daytona, between Daly's Place in Jacksonville, the arena in Jacksonville. That hour drive difference would be great to just kind of split up between those three shows, those three areas. Maybe be a little bit over consuming, but those are smaller arenas. You can definitely do that. And like I said, can I do it the WCW Worldwide and Saturday Night type of thing, where they were set up at Universal Studios or Disney MGM Studios, and they set up shop there for the longest time before they actually toured a little bit. And you're not just as much Collision is a decent idea of bringing back Night Wrestling, and it's turned into a good show. It's a solid secondary show for AEW. After the whole Punk thing, where it used to be, okay, Punk's on that show only, so we're going to, Collision is Punk's show. Now he's not on there anymore, and now it's kind of trust.
Right.
People are just showing up on that show now, and it's not as unique as it used to be. It's still a good show, but especially in the summer, it's hard to sell tickets for Saturday night shows indoors. But, yeah.
Apparently, we're describing a performance center without saying the word. No, we don't want a performance center. Just give us an arena that's intimate enough, but yet we're not going to get shit for. I don't want a set place where people can just train as they go.
If anything, ROH should be the performance center type of show, but we're talking about the second big show for AEW, a weekly show that. It's not selling great right now, and then, okay, we'll go to smaller arenas for that.
All right, I got 3 topics that just popped in my head that I want to get through as quick as we can, because I know you were saying off the screen you would like to get off of here as quick as possible this week. By the way, if you ever find Cherry Coke, it's so good. I love Cherry Coke. But anyways, topic number 1.
Buy me some of that.
So I don't know if you saw I don't know if it was an interview or just a video that Dax Harwood put out talking about what's his fucking name? Billington, Tommy Billington.
Dynamite Kid.
Dynamite Kid. Yeah. So apparently the story is after his showing on AEW when he had his appearance there, like the next week, AEW offered him a contract. And then immediately after AEW offered him a contract, WWE just magically out of the blue decided to show interest in Dynamite Kid and offered him a contract. And again, it comes to this point. I want to get your opinion on this. WWE never shows interest in independent wrestlers until they have an appearance on AEW, it seems nowadays. That's their recruitment strategy. Let AEW find the indie talent, let AEW build the indie talent, and then we'll swoop in and pay them a little bit of money to try and take them away from AEW. In this case, it didn't work, and I think Dynamite Kid has signed with AEW, though I don't know if that's like he's officially signed or if he's actually signed with the company. But is that WWE strategy nowadays?
In a way, yes, but I don't. WWE wants to find the best talent in wrestling. They do the same thing, and whether I think the best way that I would sum it up is it's almost the WWF, WCW days where you have options, and two are very good, viable options. While WWE is the biggest name in town, has been and will be for the foreseeable future, AEW is slowly becoming a very globalized brand. It's not on the scale of WWE. I'm not comparing it to that whatsoever. But having two successful shows in Europe, and yes, AEW is not going to have 80,000 people in Wembley like they did last year. Yes, it's a 30,000 ticket drop-off. I get it. Still putting 50,000 people in a stadium for a show is phenomenal. SummerSlam just did 56,000 people. That's great. That's awesome. They didn't sell out the entire stadium because they didn't open up the entire stadium. Okay? It is what it is. They still sold 56,000 people or tickets, and they did a stadium show, and it did very well. And AEW is doing the same thing. 50,000 people are going to be there. It's going to be a very good showing. They're doing a Dynamite in Cardiff. Rumors are abound that they're doing a stadium show in Australia. So they're becoming more global. They're doing a show in New Japan called Wrestle Dream? Or no, Wrestle Dynasty.
Wrestle
Dynasty,
like that. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
After the Tokyo Dome show. So, I mean, they're becoming a more reachable brand. So the fact that now there are two very good viable options for talent to go to, obviously money is a big factor into it. And yes, the scheduling can be what it is, but if AEW is doing more of the global type stuff, even though they're not running house shows and 3 shows a week, and even WWE is not doing the same type of scheduling they did before, they're still doing more shows in AEW from a live event standpoint. But both companies are trying to find the best talent possible. Maybe it's a way to say, hey, we got this talent. They did it, sure. But also at the same time, it's just, a great time to be a wrestler because you have two very good options that you're going to make some good money for and be in front of millions of people each and every. And, hey, if WWE wants the same person AEW does, at that point, it's just on the talent to decide what they want to do. So, I mean, I don't fault WWE for doing the same thing. I'm sure AEW does the same thing. We just don't talk about it as much. But, yeah, competition breeds competition. So, it's necessary.
Yeah, I think you have a point there. Like, obviously, they're not signed exclusive deals with AEW. And so WWE has every right to stoop in. I think I have the issue with, you look at Jade Cargill, she didn't get a WWE contract. She actually had a tryout, and WWE sent her away in 2019. Same thing with Stephanie Vaquer. They didn't want her in 2018. I think my issue isn't necessarily that WWE is swooping in for the kill. It's the way that they're doing it is that they're going to make AEW do all the heavy lifting to find these young upcoming talent. And then because they have the money that they can just throw out then they're going to steal these people that they really don't have interest in, and then they just sit in the sidelines. It's what they did with TNA, with like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and the plethora of James Storm and all of these TNA wrestlers that they signed in 2015 or whatever that didn't succumb to anything in NXT, didn't succumb to anything for the most part in in the main WWE, and then eventually, they were cut, and now they have to go find another job. And thank God AEW's there. You're right. Competition breeds better results for all talent. All talent now are getting paid better than they were before 2019 when AEW stepped in. And it's great. I love the competition side of things. I just think WWE, I feel like a lot of times are signing some of these wrestlers. Like the rumor is Ricky Starks is moving to WWE. I feel like that's not like WWE looking at Ricky Starks as the next big thing in pro wrestling. It's hey, we're just going to steal somebody from AEW and we'll use them whenever we feel like using them. And he'll sit the bench and just collect the paycheck. And maybe Ricky Starks is okay with sitting the bench and, collecting a paycheck. I don't know. I don't like the way that they're doing it, because there was no rumors of Dynamite Kid ever being interested by WWE until after he shows up on AEW. I don't like the way that works. Like, if you're interested in them, yeah, let's compete, and money talks and the deal talks, and whoever wins, and it's a fair competition. But there was no interest on WWE side until after he shows up in AEW. And so, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just like they're trying to steal a talent out of spite, not out of interest, and not out of the wrestler's best interest. Like, it's just we're just doing this to spite AEW type of thing. Next thing. Recently, I don't know how active you are in watching or looking up Ring of Honor stuff. Any do you check it in?
I do tap into it a little bit. I'm not a dedicated watcher like I am with Collision and Dynamite, but I do know a little bit of what's going on.
All right, so rumor has it that Julia Hart is probably going to show up in ROH at some point in the near future. Sammy Guevara has been shown on ROH here recently, though I think that's more specifically because they were in Arlington and he lives in that area, I think. There's a possibility, like, I think Tame Mello was maybe coming back. I could see her showing up in ROH. It's leading me to think that Tony Khan wants to present ROH as like a brand that's not NXT, that's not a developmental brand that we're just going to shove the people that need ring work into, and they'll work the camera there. And he actually wants to put legitimate stars in Ring of Honor, like Athena is there and Billy Starks is.
Must be flying solo for the time being until JYJ gets his stuff back. So I'll kind of pick up where maybe he's leaving off there. Seems like some of the returning talents with Sammy Guevara, Julia Hart possibly. There he is.
Hey, I'm back.
I was just trying to follow up kind of with what you were going with that.
Yeah. So do you think that this tactic will work long term of bringing these stars into ROH, like to beef up? Like, do you think more people will buy Honor Club and watch weekly, or is this just a vain attempt to get these people some TV time before that, because there's just nothing planned for them in AEW?
So I think there's a few things that are collectively making the think that Tony is trying to build up the ROH brand a little bit more than what it has been over the last year or so. That's why Billy Starks is still there. That's why Athena is still there. Mark Briscoe is the ROH champion. Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs are the World Six-Man champs. Kyle Fletcher's the pure champion, right? So I think that there's a couple things going into this. I think one, instead of them bring them back to AEW and putting them in such a very low totem pole thing where it might be a really cluttered locker room, let's put them on ROH, beef up that roster a little bit, get more eyes going. Oh, that guy or that gal's over there. I'm going to tune in, see what happens. So definitely create some intrigue and interest for the ROH brand itself. Give the talent something to do. It's more of a fresh canvas to work with that versus AEW, where, like I said, it's very cluttered with some of the either title picture scenes, and instead of just throwing them into the main event spot right away or the mid card right away for a couple weeks, and then they don't have anything for them. All right, let's put them on ROH. Let's have them face a couple fresh faces over there, put them in some storylines in that aspect, get some more eyes again on the product. And then I also think, and it's interesting you bring this up. So obviously they had the press conference today to announce the All In Texas show for next year. Athena was a part of that. She's from Texas, so I think that had to do with that a little bit. Dustin Rhodes was part of that, also from Texas. But those are two ROH champions. And a local Fox affiliate in the Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth area interviewed Athena, and as they brought up her name on the little nameplate thing, it said AEW Ring of Honor Women's Champion. I think that's interesting for the fact that maybe with the new TV deal, that possibly Tony is presenting ROH as a different brand than AEW, and could almost kind of do the Raw SmackDown thing, and maybe they get something on TV if it's Warner Brothers. They are on there. And I've kind of said this before, that maybe Page, as a show, keep Collision and Dynamite, and in place put Ring of Honor and put it on True TV, put it on, if you want to put on TBS or TNT as an extra 1 hour show, maybe that's an idea that Tony's trying to do, is bring it into as a different brand and put them on.
But
TV
even if ROH or what ROH branded show or whatever you want to do, even if it doesn't get a live slot, they could put it on Max, where there's a hell of a lot more people than Honor Club has, and you can watch it live on Max streamed. That's interesting. I would like to see Rampage be the ROH show. Like Ring of Honor Rampage would be a great Friday show or Thursday show or whatever. Fuck TNA. Like, it wouldn't have made sense to run against TNA when you were having your deal with Kenny Omega. You wouldn't want Kenny Omega on TNA going up against an AEW show, but they're not partners anymore. So put a damn show on Thursday. I mean, the best thing of TNA shows up on NXT more than he does in TNA nowadays. So, and we all know once his contract's up, Joe Hendry is no longer TNA. He's going to be an NXT wrestler. And so I think you could put a show on a Thursday at 8 o'clock and do a hell of a lot better number than a Friday at 10 o'clock.
Maybe. I don't necessarily disagree with that.
And then you mentioned it. That's the last thing I wanted to talk about. All In next year in Arlington, Texas, at the Ranger Stadium, right? Globe Life Ranger Stadium.
The Globe Life Park.
And so, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the IWC on the WWE side are saying that this move was made because Tony Khan has realized that The Wembley crowd is just no longer interested, even though, there's 50,000 people are going to show up in 10 days to Wembley Stadium to watch a show. They're just no longer interested because the show has cut 30,000 fans in a year. I don't think that's an accurate depiction. I like the fact, though, that they're not keeping it at Wembley every year, because it's almost being presented that this is now the WrestleMania of AEW, All In. And WrestleMania moves every year. I think that this show, All In, should move yearly. I don't think it should be set in stone at Wembley Stadium. I don't think it should be set in stone at Globe Life Park. Like, find a stadium that wants it and switch the venue yearly and hit different areas. Your thoughts overall that they're moving it one from Wembley this year in 2025? It doesn't make that argument again doesn't make any sense, because Tony Khan also announced it's going back the year after to Wembley Stadium. So it's not like they're abandoning Wembley forever. It's just a change in venue for a year.
Yeah, well, I think that because WWE is going to be running a show there next year, that want to oversaturate that, and maybe Wembley has a specific contract that, hey, WWE said that they're going to be running this venue, and then I don't know if WWE has a date for that show yet or not, but maybe it's just like, all right, you know what, we're going to oversaturate that crowd. We don't want to try to tip our toes into that for a third straight year, and the demand is not there again because, hey, we already spent all of our money to go to the Wembley show for WWE. We're not going to AEW. Or we haven't seen a WWE stadium show in London in a while. I want to go to that. So it's a smart idea. You know what? We've done it for 2 years in a row. You dip in ticket sales for this year. Let's take it out and let's bring it back in 2026. And in my opinion, I think that means that we shouldn't see a Europe show, maybe a Dynamite, maybe something like that in Europe, but not obviously a stadium show. So that should create the demand for, oh my God, they're going to be back not next year, but in 2 years. So now I need to make sure that we're ready to go for 2 years, that we go and watch them. But no, I agree that I feel if that's going to be your big stadium show that you're going to do, you need to move it around every year. You don't need to keep going back to the same. You're going to just way oversaturate your crowd. You're not going to create the demand of it being there. Even if it is once a year, it's like, man, I just went to this last year. Like, okay, well, I've already been to one. Why do I need to go back to another one? And it seems, my opinion, not a whole lot of Americans are going to travel over to Europe to watch a show. All the Europeans are going to travel over to America to watch the shows, i.e. SummerSlam, Rumble, Mania. So create the demand of this one big stadium show in America, and all the Europeans will fly over for it and help generate more interest and demand and ticket sales for those shows. Little bit surprised that they're not going to do this at the Jaguar Stadium, just given the obvious connection between the Khans and Jacksonville. But Wembley is not a domed stadium, but it does have a lot of a cover to it. Obviously, they're going to Globe Life Park, where it is a domed stadium. So I feel like they're trying to just create more of the controlled environment, where if there's bad weather, they're inside, it's fine. Right. So I think maybe that's part of it. Obviously, in the summertime, pop-up storms happen a lot in Florida, so that's one thing they're probably trying to prevent too. But they've done a lot of good business in Texas. I think they've got a really good market in there. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons for that. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it next year. I think they're going to do great things with it. But after 2026, man, open up the bidding. Just make once a year a big stadium show. Or if you do twice a year, that's the max. Don't go anymore. And let people try to bid for it. They're going to see the demand. Hey, man, they're selling 40, 50,000 seats or tickets for these things. That's an economic-driven event, like a WrestleMania and a Rumble. All right, well, hey, let's throw our hat into there. If we're not going to get a WrestleMania this year or a Rumble or a SummerSlam, this is the best thing. They've got really good ticket sales for these big stadium shows. Let's do it. So it's intriguing, but it's going to be very see that.
It's interesting to me that I think it was Sean Ross Sapp that said that there were rumors that AEW was trying to get an Australia stadium show next year as well. So I just wonder if they realized that, like the European crowd, that they've kind of, like you said, saturated the market in Europe, and they're just trying to experiment with different other different places around the world. Like when Mercedes Moné says that they're building like a global women's revolution, like I don't think that's just like a catchphrase. Like I really think AEW wants to be the worldwide company. Like WWE focuses in America, and they've kind of splashed into certain European and other markets. Like they hit Australia, and now they're going to Germany in a couple of weeks, and they've been to Scotland. But those shows aren't like big pay-per-views. Those are like the smaller second tier pay-per-views that they allow to do in Europe. Like this is their big, like I don't know what the plan is with Australia. There's not a whole lot going on to be said there. I think it's also interesting that they chose Arlington, simply for the idea. I don't know how much you read into like independent companies, but Thunder Rosa runs a company in Texas, Mission Pro Wrestling. And they announced just a couple weeks ago, last week maybe, that after this upcoming show that they're doing in August, they're shutting down for the foreseeable future. So I don't know if there's plans in the work for Mission Pro Wrestling to kind of like be showcased as like an AEW training facility. I don't know if that's a thing. It's just kind of awkward, the timing. Like Mission Pro says are shutting down, then like AEW spending a lot of time in Arlington, and now they're getting their biggest stadium show in Arlington, which is like really close to where Mission Pro runs their stuff. And Thunder Rosa is like a Texas wrestling goddess in Texas. So a lot of people hate Thunder Rosa, but she's pretty good, pretty over in that area. I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's going to be cool. Like one, AEW hasn't been in a stadium other than Arthur Ashe, like an actual, like not a tennis court, but like an actual stadium, I think ever. So it'll be like the first stadium show pay-per-view, the first pay-per-view in Texas. That Texas crowd has been pretty positive for AEW. So I think it'll sell well. And then obviously they go back to Wembley the year after. But I'd like to see them experiment in other areas. But I don't know. Anybody watching have anything? Let me go through these chats because I've been kind of slacking on that. Let's see. Who had a better character interview this week? Dirty Dom with Logan Paul or MJF with Wrestle Talk? I didn't watch either of them, so I can't give you an honest answer. How do you feel Wesley will do as a heel? He's not a heel character. He's better as a face. I don't get why they turned him, to be completely honest. Stephanie Vacher's going to show up at No Mercy or next week. I'll believe it when I see it.
Wait till Halloween Havoc.
It'll be like day one, NXT day one, January 2027 before she shows up. Some guy named John that I've never heard of before says, no, Tony Clown, WWE bots are not messing with your insignificant in-die show. I don't, what the fuck, anyways. Well, thank you for watching the show, my friend. Sammy's in ROH because Mercedes Moné said so. I don't think that's the case. I think Sammy just was in Texas, and he lives in Texas. And
although we did see rumors that apparently creative pitches were thrown to him for his return to AEW, and he didn't like them. So all right, well, let's just put you on ROH and just have fun for a while.
But see, the thing is like he showed up on Collision like the next week, so I think they're just slowly building him back into his form.
Probably.
And then last thing before we log off here, did you see MJF and Britt Baker basically say those rumors that he entered the women's locker room were false this week?
Yeah, I did think it was kind of interesting how he gave a really good interview detailing how that worked, and then Britt basically kind of backed up with what he said, and I don't know. While I do kind of believe what MJF said, that doesn't fail the smell test. At the same time, it's like, okay, well, Britt was obviously suspended for something, so something happened. Whether or not MJF went into the women's locker room, that probably, I would say maybe that was a little more exaggerated. I would think that would be a really big HR issue if you went to the women's locker room and did that. I could see, them at a mutual point, and there was a wall, and MJF punched through it. Not a brick wall, obviously, but something like that. Or trainer's room, Tony Khan's room. I could see that. I don't think if he went into the women's locker room, I know that he's one of the biggest personnel in AEW. That would be a really big issue right there. So
right, and that was his biggest thing. Is he said like, "You think I would go into the women's locker room as like a locker room leader and not get any consequences? Like, if you believe that, you're stupid." Like, he would get suspended too. I think something
they suspended other people. He wouldn't just get a free pass like that.
Like, I think something happened. I think a conversation happened. I don't think the whole. But even with like the big story, it was like Britt Baker allowed him into the women's locker room. Like, I don't know. It's like I think it's got blown out of proportion. I think a conversation happened. Britt called MJF's girl a bad word or something. MJF tried to, be the gentleman and stand up for his woman, and he got pissed off and threw a fit, hit a wall, did something, and that was the end of it. I don't think it was as big as a problem as everybody thinks so. Like, but then again, we're 10 days from AEW All in London. I wouldn't be surprised if like tomorrow there's some scandal about how like Tony Khan dropped a shoe or something and they blow it out of proportion. Like
wait till after All In, then something happened.
Right. It's All In, or like Chris Jericho swung his baseball bat at Hook in the back locker room or whatever. Like, I just don't know. There's always a story at the time that AEW has big success, and it's like they're showing that they got it All In for next year planned. I like that it's in July and not in August. That way, we don't have to have two pay-per-views in a period of several weeks. Bless you, by the way. Secondly, like, you got to think any day now that TV deal gets announced as official.
Tony did say that prepare for some of the most important announcements. So that was only one announcement. That All In's there. I mean, I guess technically two if you want to count the fact that Wembley is going to be back in 26. So I hope that's not. I can't see that being the only two things. So yeah, I think we're. I mean, just imminently expecting that announcement of some sort. But the longer it goes on, the more concerned I get. Is it going back to Warner Brothers? Are we taking a cheaper deal? Like, but
Tony Khan
I don't know.
Thanked David Zaslow for taking him to Paris. Like, the deal was struck in Paris. Like, I'm pretty sure they're just waiting for the right time. They're waiting for the right time to announce it, and I think it's more of a Warner Brothers telling them, like, hold off just a minute. Like, let's present this the right way. Don't they announce their next year broadcast shows, additions and subtractions or whatever in the next couple of weeks, I think. So I wouldn't surprise me if it popped up there. So I don't. My biggest concern is, one, I think maybe they're waiting for the outcome of this NBA debacle, because apparently like they're suing the NBA for not
that's
allowing them. Yeah, and then secondly, I think they kind of they announced in, what was it, their Q2 or Q3 call that they owe more money than they anticipated. So maybe they're trying to just redo the books to make sure that they can afford AEW. I don't think it's AEW's end. I think Tony Khan is content with Warner Bros. I think Warner Bros. Is trying to make sure that it makes sense for them. But also at the same time, like AEW, if a contract's not officially signed, like AEW could be finding, second options, Fox or Apple TV, and there was a AEW Twitter page that I found that made a pretty convincing argument for AEW to go to Apple TV Plus. And I know for you people that don't have Apple, you're like, well, why would they do that? Well, you can still get it without having Apple products. You just have to download the app on your TV or whatnot. It's pretty convincing, like, because Apple does their yearly showcase of their new stuff, like, and to integrate AEW into that showcase, like billions of people tune in to watch their keynote speeches. It would put a lot of new faces to AEW, but like Warner Bros. Has that new Overdrive show that they're featuring AEW talent. Like, that to me makes it think that they're staying with Warner Bros. They're introducing a brand new show at this point in the juncture, like with AEW talent. Like it would make no sense for them to cut that show short because the TV deal couldn't get announced. But I guess we'll see next week. We'll be doing our all-in Wembley Stadium predictions. DJ Wavy D said he wants to join. He said last year he missed one for all-in. And so he wants to join us next week and make some predictions. So Wavy D, you are free to show up next week. I'll send out an invite. More than welcome to have you on the show next week as we do those predictions. I didn't do this in the beginning because I just totally forgot. It's been a week. Discord, there's that link there. I'm not going to put it in the chat. You can type it yourself, you fucking humans. We're sponsored by W Energy. Link is w.gg, and the discount code used Beyond the Yard. Get 10% off of your W Energy purchase. I got an email a couple days ago that they've restocked, so everything should be in stock. You get 10% off of that. I need to restock my stuff because I'm out. We're also a WWE shop partner. That link is in the description below. If you follow us or subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star review. Let everybody know that we are the best, worst podcast on the interwebs. And I told you guys, it's been 14 days since we had a show. But that last show, I used a phrase, and I told you guys that I was going to create a t-shirt with that phrase on it. And that phrase was that we were totally unbiased. Y'all, I wasn't lying to you. I wasn't lying to you. Go to junkyardmediagroup.com. Click the shop button on the top right-hand corner of the page. and it brings you to this screen right here. Totally unbiased. T-shirt, multiple colors, there's stickers, there's dog tags. Oh, hey, look at the top of this screen right here. You use the code unbiased and you get 30% off your order. That's lasting for until I turn off that promo code. You can get our old logo shirt. I haven't got a new logo shirt up there. Check out, buy some merch, support the Beyond the Junkyard podcast by rocking the most totally unbiased. We love everything. We love all wrestling, support wrestling podcast on the entire planet. JunkyardMediaGroup.com is where you find that. Or if you don't want to go there and you want to just go straight to that website, it's BeyondTheJunkyard.com. That's our spot there. Any last words before we log off, my friend?
You plugged away everything. I think that's it. I should be on next week. I will say that for our friends out there in social media land, but also in YouTube land, and wherever you either watch or listen our show, give some big positive vibes, positive thoughts, prayers, whatever your religion may be. Send them on the way to my wife, Mrs. Kdawg. Got a big surgery happening next week. Hopefully going to fix these issues that she's been having over the last number of years. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to get her taken care of, and it's going to help her feel better. So it's going to be a rough couple days after that, but it's going to be afterwards once she is all healed up. Hopefully all these problems that she's been having will go away. If you're wondering, we are having a viewing party at the hospital room, so come on over. We'll have pizza. The entire hospital staff is going to join us. It's going to be a party. Stanley, North Carolina, or Albemarle, North Carolina, is where it'll be. Send your thoughts and prayers towards us for that. That'd be great. No, hopefully we are home by next Sunday, so we can watch that here. But in general, definitely send the vibes for that. Appreciate that.
So what you're saying is, Tony Khan, if you're listening to this, Will Ospreay needs to win because this lady,
yes,
Mrs. Kdawg, loves Will Ospreay, and
yes. TK, if you're listening, book Mr. Ospreay to win at All In, so Mrs. Kdawg can have a good welcome home present. Hey, if Will Ospreay or TK is even paying attention, if you want to throw some free stuff away, any overstock inventory, we'll take it. Donate it to her. That'd be great.
Don't reject our.
Golly, let's. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. Seriously, she did. So.
Don't reject our press pass next time.
Don't reject our press passes, damn it. We're trying to be unbiased journalists and be participants of your press conferences, but you denied our press passes for both Collision and Revolution. We're a little upset still by that, but we'll let bygones be bygones. Hey, if you want to let us buy the pay-per-view for free, that'd be great. But
the best they can do is bundle All In and All Out for $85.
But that's still better than paying $110.
Unless you have a VPN, and then you can use Fight International and buy it for $34.99.
Maybe look into that. Thank you for letting me know about that.
I found that out on social media this week that the international crowd gets it for cheaper. But
I wonder if we're in the hospital on Sunday, if we can just put that on the tab of the medical bill, just add in All In to the bill. I mean,
that's a good point. But anyway, y'all, we will see y'all next week with tentatively a special guest by the name of DJ Wavy D. Hey, if y'all ever want to join the show, just let us know. We're always wanting new people on there. That rhymed, and I didn't mean it to.
He's a poet, and he didn't even know it.
If you want to join the show, let us know. send me a message on social media. It's Junkyard M&G. Follow us there for all your latest Junkyard Media Group news. Until next week, y'all, I appreciate you. We will see you next week on the Beyond the Junkyard podcast.
See y'all.